Werewolf by Night is finally out, and it was good? Great in places even? After a string of cookie-cutter content on Disney's streamer month after month in 2022, Werewolf by Night has come along to smash the preconceived notions of what an MCU product can be. It is partly a standout because it is more unique in comparison to a bland sea of offerings, but to suggest that's the only reason to enjoy it would be selling it short. It's moody, fun, horrific, and shockingly violent, yet it still manages to find time to sell you on its emotional core. It's without doubt one of the best things to come out of Marvel's Phase 4, and I hope it can set a trend going forward. What did I like the most? What didn't quite cut the mustard for me? In this video I'll be diving into what I loved and hated about Micheal Giacchino's Werewolf by Night. But now it's time to put on my alien hat and talk about today's sponsor, NordVPN. Now, unless you've been living under a cave for the last 20 years, I'm sure you know the benefits and useful potential of having a VPN, but it wouldn't make a very good sponsor ad if I didn't go through some of the benefits now, would it? So, you're going to hear them anyway. Without further ado, NordVPN helps you to secure your browsing experience and make it safer and easier. There's a kill switch that you can use as the last line of defense for any potential data breaches. They also have a no logs policy, so you can be confident they don't keep any record of the data that passes through. You can use NordVPN on up to 6 devices, including any laptops or smartphones. You can also play otherwise region-locked shows and films on streaming sites like Netflix using a VPN to change your geographic location, which is probably the sweetest feature for me, I'm not going to lie. Why am I still talking? You need a VPN, I need a VPN, we all need a VPN. Go to nordvpn.com/fullfatvideos or click on my link in the description and use code fullfatvideos to get a 2-year plan at a huge discount plus 1 additional month free. Right off the bat, the thing that I liked most about this was that it was a one-off. Streaming can allow for more fluid runtimes and presentations, and I'm just happy that I don't have to wade through another 6-part event over the course of a month and a bit. Werewolf by Night is a singular expression, and it's all the better for it. You know by the end of the special all your main questions will be answered, and you'll get the spectacle that you came for. The story follows Jack Russell. Really? Jack Russell? And a bevy of hunters exploring a labyrinth in order to kill Swamp Thing. Little do they know that the man who would be Werewolf is actually the monster's friend, and this is a rescue mission. Jack is instantly very likeable, and Elsa kicks some ass in an effective introductory action sequence. The script isn't perfect, and I do think it kind of restarts for no reason in the third act. Could the rest of the battle and the werewolf transformation not have just happened when they captured Jack? The Bloodstone is right there. I think it would have kept the pace up after we already dived into all the action. However, this is a minor gripe. I can't criticise the plot too much for a narrative that lasts less than an hour, especially when the main draw of this special presentation is, well, the presentation. Unlike most MCU staples, this actually tries something different with its look and feel. The aforementioned labyrinth is rather brilliant production design and a welcome change to any kind of volume technology. The effects aren't always front and centre, instead relying on classic horror techniques and leaving more to the viewer's imagination. It is evocative of older Hammer horrors, but the cinematography still dives into moving camera styles that I think breaks that spell a little too much. Ultimately, it has a lot of nice artistic flourishes, but the kind that have become so few and far between in the MCU, it feels like it is getting more praise than it perhaps deserves. All in all though, this is one of the best looking and well lit MCU stories, and you can tell some real thought went into how best to present this story. Werewolf by Night doesn't escape all the trappings of what we expect from the MCU. The humour is fine, its main problem being that it is always the obvious dig.
Which is?
Ted. He's called Ted.
Ted.
After almost 4 phases of Marvel with all its spacefaring wonders, we still have characters reacting to the absurdity of a monster being called Ted. I don't think the MCU needs to do that as much anymore, and if anything I think it would be funnier if they played things straighter. I probably would have chuckled if Elsa had asked what the creature's name was and Jack just replied Ted, and they both had a completely normal reaction to it and carried on chatting like this is a normal thing to say. It's at the point in the cinematic universe where you wouldn't be fazed by it. This has at least set some kind of standard for the now shut down Blade, and I think there is clearly a new lease of life in the MCU through its supernatural side. It can be its own world with its own crossovers without necessarily needing to step into the superhero realm. I think Spider-Man and Doctor Strange could meet Blade and the other horror characters, but I don't need to see Werewolf by Night meeting the Avengers. We're past the point where we need any images or mentions of those mainline characters to crop up in something like this at all. I would go a step further and say I don't even think you need to be clear about whether or not this is in the mainline Marvel Cinematic Universe. These special presentations could take place anywhere in the multiverse. It's not particularly deep or emotional, but some Disney Plus shows spend weeks upon weeks to generate the same level of enjoyment. Our brisk 50 minutes is a welcome taste of escapist fun, and it's a template I'd really like to see Marvel adopt more in the future. I liked Agatha Harkness in WandaVision, but do I really want a whole season of that character? It feels like they're Golden Age Oprah just giving out prizes. You get a TV show, you get a TV show. There's plenty of characters like Mr. Werewolf by Night or Agatha that suit a limited edition one-off adventure rather than hours upon hours of watch time. I've said previously that most of the Disney Plus shows would work better as movies, and whilst Werewolf by Night isn't quite feature length, it certainly makes the failings of those bloated entries all the more apparent. I'm not even that much of a fan of War Machine, but hell, an Armor Wars movie is 10 times more appealing to me than an Armor Wars show. Marvel low-key went from developing another boring 6-part event to announcing Iron Man 4. Maybe even Star Wars could benefit from more special presentations. The Book of Boba Fett could have just been a chapter, eh? What if it was a tense and thrilling 50-minute special that detailed the bounty hunter climbing out of the Sarlacc? You could have dialed up the grossness and the horror to deliver something unlike the more light-hearted adventure fare of other Star Wars offerings, and spared us 7 episodes of watching Boba Fett try to be the new Jabba the Hutt, only to go and say,
We are not suited for this.
We are not suited for this. We are not suited for this. We are not suited for this.
Gael Garcia Bernal is such a wonderful actor, and he's another welcome addition to the ever-growing cast of MCU talent. How they got actors like him, Tim Roth, Angelina Jolie and Ethan Hawke to pop up in a bunch of cape shit, I do not know. Perhaps Feige has some sort of mystical blood pact with half of Hollywood. I just really can't get over the fact he's called Jack Russell, and then he turns into a kind of hound. Like, is that an in-joke from the comics? Do Americans have Jack Russells? Laura Donnelly is a brilliant co-lead as Elsa Bloodstone, a character I confess to learning about from Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
What the fuck is that? Oh my god.
What works about all these characters is that we grow to like them and learn who they are from the situation they are thrust into. The Hunt is a clever way to establish everyone and forge bonds in the short amount of time the special has, and it proves that you can get so much character from action rather than laborious backstory. Micheal Giacchino is one of my favourite movie composers. The dude's been rocking it for me as far back as 2004's The Incredibles, perhaps his best work ever, and I love his sorely underrated Star Trek theme. It's kind of hilarious that I like Werewolf by Night as much as I do, and yet his greatest contribution to superheroes in 2022 is still the Batman soundtrack. Dun 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 dun. It's surprising that the score here isn't anywhere near as memorable as those other works, but it is still excellent and nothing short of what we've come to expect from him. He really shines as a director in Werewolf by Night, and I would love to see him take on more MCU projects, or just original projects. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? The action is well shot and there's some surprisingly gory kills. I wonder how much the black and white grade helped sneak some of those deaths past the censors. Whilst the choreography is neat, the real joy lies in the tension that is created during a few key moments, such as when Elsa hides from the other hunter, or when Jack finally transforms. I don't think letting a creative do absolutely whatever they want is inherently a good thing. Netflix like to dump money on directors and go Cate Blanchett with the budget to mixed results, but in the case of the ever more homogenous Marvel Cinematic Universe, letting a talent like Giacchino go off the reserve has worked wonders. I just want things to go even further, to be honest. I don't mind levity and humour, but wouldn't it be nice to get an MCU project without a single glib line? Wouldn't it be cool to stray into proper horror territory, or do something less action focused and more dramatic? The franchise is at the point where everybody will be watching regardless what they announce, and Werewolf by Night is the first piece of evidence to suggest that they are aware of this and can flex a bit more creatively. As with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness earlier this year, these projects shine when you can feel some semblance of directorial voice, but suffer when they have to paint within the narrow confines of what an MCU project should be. What do you think? Did you enjoy Werewolf by Night? Do you agree with me? Did you love it more than I did? Or did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, you can find me at full_fat_videos. And if you'd like to find me on Twitter, you can find me at, you guessed it, at fullfatvideos.